So Rohit Sharma joining me live. Now, Rohit, tell me this. For the trends that I've been tracking, whether it's projections, whether it's early trends or almost confirmed victories, there may be a neck-and-neck contest. But the states that they appear to be winning are by massive margins. And I think that says a lot that the state that has decided to give a verdict has given a very clear verdict. That isn't close, really.
Absolutely. And look, some of these states, as we've said, that the candidates did not even go and visit and do a rally because they were very confident, by their polling data, by, talking to the local leaders that they're going to win. So, yes, a very, clear margin, a very solid margin, knowing, who these voters are, talking about the issues that they want to talk about in these states. For example, the progressive states, they were talking about abortion. They were talking about democracy, constitution, they were talking about bringing the country together, immigrants. And when I say this, I'm talking about the Democrat. On the other hand, Donald Trump, going to his states and talking about how immigrants are taking over the US, how he would end those wars, how inflation was a big deal, how economy was a big deal. And there was a survey that came out of a poll that came out that said 51% of Donald Trump voters believed that economy was a top issue. And when it was, the same poll said about 40% of people who are voting for Kamala Harris today have said that abortion is a big issue. So absolutely sticking to their talking points. And that is exactly what is reflective in the results that we are seeing, Pooja.
Very interesting that you mentioned it, whether it's economy, it's abortion. I think Americans have also decided on a very personal, direct basis of what impacts them as an individual, as a community, and I think that could also lead to the decisions that they have taken. Rohit, please stay on with me because I want to bring to the viewer what is happening on the ground. It's the battle of the ages right now, remember. Donald Trump ahead in 178 electoral votes that he's got. Kamala Harris is at 99. 270 is a majority figure mark that they need to have. Republican Donald Trump has won Texas, Ohio, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South as well, and Wyoming. This is for the kind of trends that are coming in right now, massive sweep. But then there are states that Democrat candidate Kamala Harris and her running mate also are winning. New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Delaware, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and other states as well. Magic number 270, who will get it? For now, it appears to be a lead for Donald Trump. We have some of the reactions coming in of these candidates, and these are the last words before the voting started. Let's listen into what they were saying. Is there confidence or is there caution?
It should never happen. A thing like that should never happen. This election should be over. They spend all this money on machines. And frankly, if they'd use paper ballots, it would be over by 10 o'clock. And by the way, the paper ballots would cost 8%. Would be 8% of the cost. If they would use paper ballots, voter ID, proof of citizenship, and one-day voting, it would all be over by 10 o'clock in the evening. It's crazy. They use these very expensive computers, and I'm hearing in Pennsylvania they won't have an answer till 2 or 3 days from now. I think it's an absolute outrage if that's the case. Now, maybe it'll be later, but it's... paper ballots in France, they went paper ballots because the mail-in was not working. It was corrupt. And in France, they went paper ballots. And at 10 o'clock in the evening, they had 37 million votes counted and done. They had a winner, they had a loser. And in this country, I'm just hearing that in certain states, it's going to be a long time. And it won't even be close. It won't even be that close. They say, I'm going to win the state. But it's going to take a long time to certify. Well, it'll be just that. We want to bring everybody in. We want to be very inclusive, and we will be very inclusive. We have a great country, but we have a country that's in trouble. It's in big trouble in many ways, and we have to straighten it out. We have crime is through the roof. We have people pouring through our borders that are not exactly perfect. They come out of prisons. 13,000 people convicted of murder. We don't need this in our country. We have enough difficulty. We don't need that. So I think people saw that. And it just seems that the conservatives are voting very powerfully. Look, I ran a great campaign. I think it was maybe the best of the three. We did great in the first one. We did much better in the second one, but something happened. And this was the best, I would say this was the best campaign we ran.
I'm hopeful that Trump wins because I know that he provides results. You know, he doesn't just talk about this and that. He provides results, and that's why, you know, I'm supporting him.
The popular vote has to be Donald Trump because more people have common sense than not, and I feel that Trump is, dominated.
Well, I agree. I think I feel good about it. Just watching the polls and talking to people and looking at the signs and the rallies. I mean, it's hard to say that he's not going to win this thing. So, but anything can happen. I think the world is, it's important for not only the United States, but the world.
Joining us in this special telecast this morning, Yogi Chugh. He's a community leader there on the ground. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chugh, this morning. But I understand everyone's tracking right now about what these elections mean. You tell me that many possibly wondering here in India about why would these elections be important for India, Indians, Indian Americans. You tell me, whichever way this election goes, why do you think this is historic either way? What is your assessment coming in with the kind of results that you see? Mr. Chugh, I think your microphone is on mute. If you could just unmute that, then we'll have the conversation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This
Welcome, sir.
evening is relatively early in this presidential cycle. There are lots of states yet to be covered, with Georgia, North Carolina leading. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan is where that's going to come down to. But the very question that you posed about whoever wins and what that means for the relationship vis-a-vis U.S.-India, I am optimistic that the relationship will be a formidable relationship. India is not the old India that we used to know when it was looked through the prism of an AFPAC strategy, the Afghanistan-Pakistan war. Today, India is seen as a giant in the region. Whether it's President Trump or whether it's President Kamala Harris, I think the relationship with India is going to be significant. It's going to be a consequential relationship. But once again, the tone of whether it's a Democrat president or a Republican president is where I see the difference. President Trump has always said that, you know, he needs to be able to build relationships upon strength. He always looks at America as the greatest nation in the world. And while he recognizes the role that India has to play, it's always going to be on President Trump's terms. When it comes to Kamala Harris, I think you're going to see a little bit more nuanced. You're going to see the strategic nature of the relationship. But I do think that the Democrat Party will kind of have this notion of a human rights prism in every conversation that they're going to have with India, consistent with how the Democratic Party, President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris have had their approach to India. But all in all, I think it's a significant partnership. It's going to nurture, it's going to flourish. What would be different is the style.
Mr. Chugh, I have a question, and Rohit, if as you continue to be with us, in case you have a question for Mr. Chugh, go ahead, let me know. Mr. Chugh, my question is that you're in this global power center right now, innovation, technology, where Indian Americans have made this mark, despite being about 1 to 2% of the community, of American community there, and yet the positive contribution that has been acknowledged. We saw a lot of outreach also by the Democrats and the Republicans. What would you expect? What will be the expectations of the community and people like you who are settled in the Silicon Valley from whoever wins, Democrat or Republicans? What do they need to do? And how do you think your contribution should also be acknowledged here on?
You know, the relationship of the Indian American community is by and large seen as one of significance. Whether it's the idea of technology, critical emerging technology, I think the Indian American community is going to continue to play a significant role. The Indian American community, by and large, has had successful relationships built with the Democratic Party. I think what you're going to have to see is a reset of some of the relationships with the with the Trump administration. And these conversations are going to be significant because there is this big conversation about the role that the Indian American community is going to play in these battleground states. Today, the conversation is happening about the fact that we could deliver the election. In the Democratic Party, as you may know, it's all about coalitions. In this elections, the coalitions that you would normally see are cracked and fractured. And you're seeing a new coalition of an electorate that's coming back. I do think that the Indian American community will play a significant role on either side of the aisle, because politics has now become a meritocracy in which recognition of our strengths are acknowledged, and that gets us a seat at the table. And I think we're going to continue to flourish.
Mr. Shah, I also noticed that
become.
the community or the Indian Americans, so to say, as voters, are also very diverse in their opinion. It's not like there's this sort of homogeneity in the community's decision. Many of them are staunch Democrat supporters. Many of them are supporting Donald Trump for reasons that they respectively know best. What do you think this diversity of opinion means among Indian Americans? They may have similar struggles. What do you think is the assessment that they have? Why would they choose a Kamala Harris? Why would they choose a Donald Trump? And what do you think is the consequence of that?
I think what is happening is the Indian American community is becoming a very nuanced voice in American politics. As we begin to become a part and fabric of this America and the greatness that has unfolded, Indian Americans have created a great contribution. I think that there is still a very large number of people who look at how a government or a president is dealing with India, and they look at that prism through who's in power right now and that nuance. But I think if you look at the larger context of the Indian American diaspora in this country, I think what is important to us is the economy. What's important to us is the border issue. What we look at is how does America continue to lead in a war in which its geopolitical presence is being threatened? And from that regard, while we may have a partiality to India and South India, the people from the diaspora are from, what continues to remain at the forefront is that we are now looking at the prism of America and how our role is continued to define in making this one of the best countries in the world. There is a reset going on in America right now. And I think the Indian American community has had to look deep in its hearts to understand which party stands for our values. I think we look for the best in both the Democrats and the Republicans, but unfortunately that's not happening. What I think you're going to begin to notice is that even while the Kamala Harris presidency has brought in the hopes and aspirations of a diaspora, I think selfishly they're looking back at a reset in how do we come back and ensure an America continues to flourish in a world